Let's go. Let's go. What's going on? Let's go. Matt Canada is like the first thing I see here. We welcome Marcellus, Blake, Michael, Kirk, Lewis, Ingram. We do not have a defensive coordinator yet. Still looking for that guy. Is it Ryan Nielsen? Is it Zach Arnett? Is it Jimmy Johnson? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know. We just want to know. CZ Bisley bringing up this. But anyway, I start today's live stream with some great news. We are so close to 3,000 subscribers. So close. That's why I included it in the title, okay? And I want to get there by the end of this live stream. So share this with someone you think would enjoy this live stream content. Obviously, my first thing starts with Ryan Nielsen, because that's what a lot of you want to talk about, right? Is who is LSU's next defensive coordinator going to be? Well, let me first start off by saying something pretty simple here. I believe the next defensive coordinator at LSU will be someone Ed Orgeron is familiar with, right? I don't think that he wants to bring in an outsider, okay? I think Orgeron, when times get tough, he's going to stick with somebody familiar, and it doesn't get any more familiar in this search than Ryan Nielsen, who both played under Ed Orgeron and coached under Ed Orgeron. Micah says Bills or Ravens. I actually have some money on the Bills at 2.5. I think they win. I really do. I think they win comfortably too. We sat out Austin, even though he's a Manchester United fan. And I actually have a soccer scarf on. We'll get to that in a moment. One of you guys sent that to me. And also something that's kind of new tonight. You see here, well, you can't because it's in plastic wrapping. One of you guys sent me a Giorgio Canaglia Sports Illustrated cover, which goes next to my Kev Falk cover. Now, so a lot of you are worried about this. Well, it's not Man City, Cliff. It is not. I don't want people to think that this is Man City. It's Lazio. Anyway, I want to start with Larry because I think a lot of you feel this way, and it's publicly kind of hard to say. Well, I don't want Ed Orgeron to hire his friends because sometimes it comes down to you're going to hire a friend. Well, coaches are so well connected. Coaches are so intertwined. They go from one job and they coach alongside them for a year. Then they go somewhere else and then they're on the same staff 5 years later. If you ever go look at any coach's resume, all of them jump from job to job. They just simply do. So there's always going to be friendship or connections amongst staffs. It's just something that is unavoidable. Okay. And a lot of you are still asking me about Matt Canada being the new Steelers offensive coordinator. I actually like that move. And Jonathan just joins us. He is the one that gave us this Sports Illustrated cover. But look, Giorgio, my late friend, on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So I was friends with this soccer player, and I'll tell you more about it a little bit later. So shout out to Ucla in Ukraine. He was the one that sent me all this gear, okay? But the Kev Falk background is iconic. So you never want to hire your friends, right? You never want to just hire your friends because, you're kind of biased. And you look at some of the really friendship hires at LSU over the years. The most notable one is when Les Miles hired Cam Cameron, and then we had the Anthony Jennings years, and you know what happened after that. So that kind of concerns you. Also, something else that concerns me about Ryan Nielsen is, he coaches the defensive line, which is Ed Orgeron's area of expertise. So if you're bringing in a defensive coordinator, and his strength is the defensive line, which obviously is a very important position. Well, defensive line is a more simple, it's not an easier position, but it's a more simple position than, a member of the secondary or the linebacker corps. Okay? So there's a lot of questions regarding Ryan Nielsen, and I addressed them in the Ryan Nielsen piece. If you want to just focus on that, because we're about to move on, I have a link down below to our Ryan Nielsen piece. But simply put, I really do believe Ryan Nielsen is someone that I think would be decent. I think he'd be very decent at the job. I don't think he'd be someone that everybody wants to be their next defensive coordinator. He is someone that has 1 year of co-defensive coordinator experience. Now, we do get this report that Dan Lanning, I think that's his first name, Lanning, who's the co-defensive coordinator at Georgia, has turned down the job to go to Texas alongside Steve Sarkisian, which leaves open the possibility that Glenn Schumann could go to LSU. Or is Glenn Schumann going to take the Texas job? We don't know. We simply don't know. So it is what it is regarding that. So if Glenn Schumann's not hired, who I like a lot, and if Ryan Nielsen is not hired, who a lot of you like a lot, I like Ryan Nielsen a lot as a coach as well. Well, who's it going to be? Who's going to be LSU's next defensive coordinator? I don't know. I simply don't know. So we'll wait and see. So some of you are watching the Steelers and Bills playoff game in the background. I know it's kind of awkward because a lot of you are focusing on that game, and for good reason. You got your Tre'Davious White in that game. You also have Patrick Queen. You also have the ghost of Kyle Williams in this game. So, it's an LSU fest. Also, Blake Ferguson is in this game, the deep snapper. So it's very fascinating. So Mick says he thinks Coach O wants to hire someone from the NFL. I'm obviously very interested in that as well. Where is Coach O going to go? I don't know. So as always, Venmo and Super Chat is wide open. Let me write this down. And there's Yusha. Yusha, as you can tell, I'm repping my new favorite Italian soccer club, Lazio. Loving my new scarf. I really do. So everyone say thank you to Yusha from the Ukraine. Now, here's a funny thing. I thought for sure we were already going to get to 3,000 subscribers, and I was going to be able to give out our 3,000 subscriber get. And there's Robert. Oh, yeah, Robert. Thank you so much. Your card is going out into the mail this week, Robert. I'm giving this out tonight if we hit 3,000 subscribers. We're not quite there yet. Also, if you're new to this channel, please hit the thumbs up button when you come on the live stream. Larry says it would be awesome if Ryan Nielsen was coming to coach the D-line and Glenn Schumann was coming to be the defensive coordinator. That would be an awesome package deal. And who's to say Ryan Nielsen is going to be the defensive coordinator at LSU? Maybe he's just coming to be the defensive line coach. He's been at New Orleans for 4 years, which is a decent amount of time for a position coach. It's obviously not an extremely long time, nor is it an extremely short time. But it's still one of those things where 4 years can be long for a position coach, and maybe he wants to rejoin Ed Orgeron. Maybe he likes Ed Orgeron. Look, Ryan Nielsen wouldn't be where he is today without Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron coached him up at USC to be a great player. Then Ed Orgeron gave Ryan Nielsen his first Power 5 job at Ole Miss. So once again, Robert, thank you. I hope you are feeling better. As Debbie mentions or points out, Robert's entire family has been battling with the Rona. So, Robert, hope you are feeling better. And Robert wants a book signing. We'll work on that in just a moment. Good to hear, Robert. Hope the same for you and your family. Ryan and Corey, co-defensive coordinator. So, Kevin, if Ryan Nielsen does come and LSU isn't able to get another defensive coordinator, maybe that is what is going to happen. That way you promote Corey Raymond and you also give Ryan Nielsen not the full brunt of responsibility of being the defensive coordinator. You know, I wouldn't be totally opposed to that. It would make it a lot easier on both of them. But then it goes to the question, do you want co-defensive coordinators? And that in and of itself can be something that is really difficult to deal with. It really could be. So we'll see what happens with that. I think Corey should get the job. Yeah, I think so too. A certain piece of me thinks so. Well, we'll see. But don't you risk losing Corey if it goes south? Well, you always risk losing a talented coach when things go really sour, especially one who is in such high demand as Corey Raymond. It's simple business. The more talented you are, the better track record that you have. When things go south, the easier it is to land on your feet. I could see that working too, Blake. I really could. Let's see. So now we've talked about the defensive coordinators enough. Let's move on to a different subject. I know a lot of you want to know what the latest is with Derek Gilbert. A lot of you want to know what the latest is with the transfer portal. Is BJ Ojolari going to come back? You know, one thing I do want to bring up is, always feel this way. Don't ever put too much stock into any one player. Okay. Never do that. Never, ever, ever put too much stock into any one player. And Robert, once again, this is your super chat time. We'll talk about what you want to talk about. Some of you are talking about Jorge Munoz. I saw a rumor earlier today that he could be coming back. I think One Team, One Podcast reported it. I haven't heard anything else about Jorge Munoz coming back. I know that's been floated out there. It would make a lot of sense because Jorge Munoz worked alongside DJ Mangas, and now Jorge Munoz does not have a job. So it would make a lot of sense. Debbie brings up Todd Harris was returning, which obviously is pretty good. Well, Todd Harris wasn't any good. Well, early in the year, he wasn't any good. He actually did get better as the season moved on. Todd Harris made a lot of mistakes early, but so did a lot of people in this new defense. So, Todd coming back is really good news, and we'll see if he actually gets better. So special thanks to Robert for your donation, and here you go, Debbie. We asked about you last week, Debbie, on the live stream, and y'all get an early booger sighting because she's hungry. So thank you guys so much. TJ Finley is gone. I don't think TJ Finley's gone. I just don't. Let's go to Robert here. I think Corey has to put in the time, and I like him, but I would love to see the Saints coach come in because it would help you get a good pro coach. There you are, Debbie. There's Bug right there. We're going to let her go eat. What's wrong with you? Isn't she the sweetest? John, there you go. Shake. Get a booger shake? Oh, there we go. So, it goes into saying. I didn't give her night yet, no. I get a 9.8. But, once again, Eric Gilbert has a skill set you can't find many recruiting classes. It'll be hard to replace, but with offensive minds that cater to our players' best attributes, it could definitely be done. Debbie is such a big Booger fan. We'll bring her back a little bit later. Don't worry. Y'all hang on. But once again, I have to say this. Guys, thank you so much for all your support. I couldn't do this without my lovely girlfriend, Haley. Everyone say hi to Haley. Yeah, so let's clear this up, all right? Because what happens is when and coaches mean well when they do this, but what happens, and I knew this was going to happen with Jake Peetz and saying what he said about TJ Finley. Whenever they compare a player to another player, they are comparing their attributes. So he didn't compare TJ Finley to Steph Curry. He said, like Steph Curry, his arm doesn't have any shortness of range. He's got a big arm. And he only compared Cam Newton because of the size. Obviously, TJ Finley is not near the skill level of Cam Newton, but not anyone really is. But he was more comparing Cam to his size because obviously Peetz was at Carolina and, it's just doing it for comparison. Now, everyone says hello. Hey. Well, there you go. So, simply put, all right, LSU's got a lot of talent. We all know that. But one thing I wanted to talk about tonight on the live stream, and a player told me this, and it stuck with me until this point. And this was a player who did all the right things, okay? And he played in the NFL a long time. King Mo, what to do? But whenever you get, okay, let's go back to Robert. This is a super chat time. Whenever you get a good pro coach that recruits like it with more connections to the NFL, I totally agree. And you know what's funny? When I was looking at all of Jake Peetz's background and videos, it showed a good family man and all those different things. But it showed that he really is hungry. You get this guy who's really knowledgeable, and he kept saying in interviews, I'm not about the last game. I'm about the next game. And not only did he say that, specifically, he said, I'm always about changing with our opponents and with our players' abilities. In other words, he's a very progressive coach. He's a guy that is willing to strip everything he knows, move things forward, which is obviously an attribute that Nick Saban has. So, and once again, I'm not comparing him to Nick Saban, kind of like Peetz wasn't comparing TJ Finley to Cam Newton, but that is such a very important attribute. For instance, if I saw that live streams weren't something that a lot of you guys like to do, I wouldn't do them, even though I like doing them, but you guys apparently like them. It's called adjusting, and Jake Peetz obviously is a guy who's open to adjustments. On top of that, from what I've been told, a big job of DJ Mangas as Joe Brady's assistant on the 2019 team, a big part of DJ Mangas's job was to tell Joe Brady what to do as defenses were changing. So his job wasn't to tell necessarily Joe Brady what plays to run. His job was to relate to Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger what the opponents were doing versus what they already had. And this was something that was explained to me by someone who was really powerful in the 2019 team. Think the most powerful people on the 2019 team. And, for the quarterback draw piece I did, it was episode 11, I believe, the Steve Ensminger famous quarterback draw, Joe Burrow's longest run of the year, was a 29-yard run. This to me was the most fascinating thing, and I'm going to give you a little nugget here, okay? What I was told, the one thing, and this will shock you because the 2019 offense was so good. Whenever they watched the film study leading up to the week of the game, they always said each and every week the opponent threw multiple curveballs their way as far as what defenses they were going to run. In other words, LSU's offense started to get to a level that was so freaking good that defenses tried legit everything they could to stop it. And they not only did that, they also did things that they had not done prior on film to try and confuse LSU. Here's a good example of this. So, what Oklahoma decided to do defensively, and Joe Burrow brought this up far more eloquently than I did because, he was on the field. What Oklahoma decided to do was double Jamar Chase the entire game. They said, look, we're going to force everyone else to beat us. So what did LSU do? Well, they kept throwing it to Justin Jefferson, okay? And Oklahoma thought, well, if we keep double teaming number one, at some point they're going to try and force it to him. That's not what happened. LSU just always threw it to the open guy. And a big reason why is because, well, Joe Burrow is incredible, but because they had all these coaches that were really good at processing all this information and changing it as the game moved on. So what was explained to me about a few weeks ago is that LSU lost a lot of these types of coaches. Like DJ Mangas was one of those coaches. And Jorge Munoz was another analyst who was really good at processing information quickly. So remember, when you're actually calling a game, one of the things you have to do when you call a game is you have to be willing to change everything if what you expect they're going to give you is not what they give you defensively. And you know what, Blake? I don't mean to install fake confidence in anyone because there is a lot of uncertainty. DJ Mangas at William and Mary wasn't, Sean McDermott good. He wasn't Mike Tomlin good, okay? Those coaches also went to William and Mary. That's why I bring that up. But, it's one of those things. How quickly can you change? How quickly can you process information? And part of the problem with LSU this year, both offensively and defensively, they weren't really good at that. They simply weren't. And how talented your coaching staff is goes a long way. Now, I should say all of that. The most important thing is that, well, you have the really good players to where all that crap doesn't matter. And LSU certainly had that. What made them unstoppable, though, is that, you had Brady and Mangas and those guys. So, yeah, you know what? I've gained, and you can fall. This is something that happens a lot to pundits like myself. You listen to the interviews and you fall in love with these coaches because they say the right things. And Jake Peetz and DJ Mangas, they crushed. They crushed these press conferences. And they crushed their interviews, right? And they're Joe Brady disciples, which, makes a lot of sense. So it's easy to fall in love with someone like that. But this is a group of coaches that's returning a majority of the offensive line. They have a new number one to throw to in Kayshon Boutte. Their running backs hopefully get better. We've discussed a lot about the running game. So, and hopefully we take that next step offensively. Now, this is a bigger thing that's going to become an issue, okay? As far as the offense is concerned, and Cliff brings a good point about Joe Pelini. I said Joe Pelini, Bo Pelini, Joe, Bo, whatever. One thing that's going to be very interesting, and this could be an issue for LSU, and we've brought it up in another live stream, and if you want to talk about something else, I'm more than open to it. That's why you could super chat. If you super chat or Venmo, like Robert just said, Robert, guess what? No one has super chatted or Venmo since then. So, Robert, it is still your floor in the eyes of me. But still, and Justin makes a good point. Lack of communication and adjustments against Mississippi State is really good. So, let me bring this up to you, okay? To you lovely people watching. One thing that concerns me, and it's kept me up at night, what is LSU going to do adjustment-wise? What are they going to do to switch up what they're doing with their quarterback position? And what I mean by that, will LSU have a strong, clear idea on what they are going to do at quarterback? And the answer to that is they're not. Okay, I'm just going to let you know. They're not. They're not going to have clarity at quarterback. And the reason why, it's because, well, which quarterback was clearly the best quarterback on tape last year? Do you know? Some would say Max Johnson. Could be the case. Some would say Myles Brennan. Definitely could be the case. We can all agree that TJ Finley wasn't as good as those two. But which one of those quarterbacks led a game-winning drive when you had to have it? TJ Finley did. Now, Max had a game-winning field goal drive, but that was in large part to someone chunking a shoe. And Blake and I have synergy. And I've brought this up before. Carver's sometimes thinking what I'm thinking, and Marcus and whoever else. And Cliff, we'll get to Eric, you already missed Bug. I'm sorry. But this is going to be the problem for Jake Peetz and DJ Mangas. And it's going to be interesting because they're new. All right? We don't know who the best quarterback is. We don't know who the guy's going to be next year. Go look at all the great LSU teams. A lot of them had something in common. They knew who the quarterback was. And that matters because if you don't, you got to divvy up the reps. And if you don't, you don't know which receivers work with which quarterback the best. You see how that works? So it's difficult to really know who your best quarterback's going to be. So Max Johnson playing very, very good, but not unbelievably. And Myles Brennan playing very, very good, but not unbelievably, puts us in this position now. And then we have people like Daniel, even though I disagree with them, there is a case to be made that TJ Finley has the most potential out of any of them. And then it leads to Cliff's point. Who are your best wide receivers? Who's your best running back? So at all three of the skill positions, we don't know. The only thing that we could say beyond reasonable doubt who a starter is going to be at a skill position next year is Kayshon Boutte. That's it. That is the only guy we know who the starter is going to be. That's it. Running back, wide the freak open. Wide open. Wide receiver, 2 spots wide open. Tight end. I saw something very fascinating, and this is only for the diehards. It's only for people that love diehard LSU talk. Did y'all see this? Nick Storrs, the baseball player who just stumbled basically into being a tight end, said, forget baseball. I'm going all in on football, which makes a lot of sense. In baseball, you don't have a full scholarship. In football, you do. So his school's paid for if he is a scholarship tight end. I don't know if he's getting a scholarship or not. He should. He contributed. He was a good special teamer. Who's to say Nick Storrs isn't the starting LSU tight end? Remember this. Mama? And Emmanuel brings up a good point as well. Okay. The offensive line was so unsteady. How could we know who anybody was last year? How could we have a pure evaluation of the running backs when the offensive line was so bad? So here's what I would do if I'm Ed Orgeron, okay? And this is going to seem very strange. Now, DJ Mangas has a relationship with Myles Brennan, okay? Because DJ Mangas was already on staff. What I would do if I'm Ed Orgeron is a simple term that I brought up in our first coaching search piece. So before I did any coaching search, before I did my offensive coordinator hot board or my defensive coordinator hot board, I did a video, and I think some of you remembered this. There was 5 keys to the coaching search, okay? So point number 5, is that the 5? Point number 5 was a term I use, a philosophy term. It's called tabula rasa, okay? It's a clean slate. Now, who on LSU football has a clean slate that is currently coaching at LSU, okay? As far as new coaches, well, DJ Mangas doesn't, but Jake Peetz does, okay? And we'll get to Eric Gilbert in just a moment. So what I would do if I'm Ed Orgeron, I would tell Jake Peetz, watch all the film from last year. Watch all 12 games from last year. And with a little help from DJ, tell me who you think the 11 best players are. Okay? Now, obviously, the coaches have already met with the players, so Peetz has already met with the quarterbacks and all of that. Lewis, thank you so much. If Dennis Allen gets another head coaching job, Nielsen gets promoted to DC with the Saints, that's a really good point, Lewis. I'm not so sure if he would get promoted to being a defensive coordinator with the Saints, though. Remember, do you think Sean Payton views Ryan Nielsen the same way that Ed Orgeron views Ryan Nielsen? Sean Payton might, but Ed Orgeron loves Ryan Nielsen. That's basically, coaches that are as passionate about what they do as Ed Orgeron, coaches that are as player-friendly as Ed Orgeron, they have a real metaphysical relationship with their players. They really do. Ryan Nielsen is where he is now because of Ed Orgeron. So I'm not so sure, Lewis, if that hypothetical happens, if Ryan Nielsen would get catapulted to the defensive coordinator job. Also, one more thing about Dennis Allen, he's not going to get a head coaching job. As great as the Saints defense has been, I just don't see that happening. I just don't. Max, 3,000 subscribers. We got to get there, baby. So I think we can all agree that Max has supported our channel so much. Max, guess what? I'm sending you one of these cards. Thank you, Max. You've supported my channel with not only your eyeballs, but also your money, which means a lot for my girlfriend. We're doing salmon tonight and means a lot for Booger. So, Max, congratulations. You are a winner of a Danielle Hunter Prism rookie card. Congratulations to you, Max. There you go. Cheers to you. And I know I said I was going to wait till 3,000 subscribers, but Max, you get it, man. Congratulations. So let's get to your super chats. A lot of super chats are coming in. So let me make sure I answered this one for Lewis. I don't think that actually happens, but if it does, I also don't think Ryan Nielsen would get that defensive coordinator job. Ed and Sean be talking. I'm sure he knows O's. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, all these coaches talk to each other. Even Joe Brady with the Panthers, I'm sure he keeps in contact with, obviously, Orgeron he does, but Sean Payton and whatnot. So, yeah, you can't officially interview coaches until they're done with their NFL jobs, but there has certainly been some backroom discussions. Let's go to Hitstick Productions here. Hopefully, Tony, that answers your question. I like to respect everyone's super chat. Also, Max, if there's anything you want to talk about, since your donation was the biggest, we will go back to what you're talking about. Let's go to Hitstick. Thank you for your super chat, my man. What are the odds of us getting Pruitt as a defensive coordinator if he gets sacked at Tennessee? It is 0, Hitstick. Well, I won't say 0. I'll put 2% out there. Like the nasty milk you drink. I'm kidding. I'm a 2% guy. I like chocolate milk better. But anyway, Hitstick, everything has to do with off the field. So, for instance, if there's one school who cannot afford to hire someone who is currently under investigation, that coach or that school right now would be LSU, right? Well, Tennessee is under their own investigation regarding recruits and credit cards and potentially women, and that is not what LSU currently needs, especially considering people that are objectively involved or at the center of the investigation are still actually employed by LSU. I don't think hiring an actual coach that is currently in the middle of that, it would be the best move. Now, Obviously, the SEC is not a league of morals. We don't follow SEC for morality. We have religion and our parents to teach us morals, okay? Football is anything but that. With that said, LSU right now is toxic as far as off the field is concerned. Jeremy Pruitt, how's he going to be as a defensive coordinator? Is he up with the times as a defensive coordinator? Did he prove anything as a head coach that he was still an above average defensive mind at Tennessee? All three of those things are huge no's. So I would stay away from that. So Max wants to talk about Glenn Schumann, and I'm happy to talk about Glenn Schumann. I'm a huge Glenn Schumann guy. Okay. Now, I've shared this before. I have people that are in the coaching industry. They all give Glenn Schumann A's as far as their information. Jonathan, with the question, who is the most likely next defensive coordinator? So guess what? We'll answer Max and Jonathan's question at the same daggum time. Let's do it. So, number one, let's go back to Hitstick's question. And Hitstick, hopefully that answers your question about Jeremy Pruitt. I know some of you like Jeremy Pruitt a lot. I know some of you have referenced, hey, the best defensive coordinator in the SEC last year was a fired head coach from the year before in Barry Odom. Well, I've explained that Barry Odom was a perfect fit for Arkansas because of proximity and a lot of other different things. And Barry Odom was actually a decent head coach at Missouri. Jeremy Pruitt is not. He's not been a good coach. Okay. He has the lowest coaching effect, which is an advanced statistic from the college football matrix. My buddy Dave Bartu, he rated Jeremy Pruitt as the lowest rated head coach when you factor in schedule and recruiting advantage and talent. So when you know those things, you probably need to stay away from that guy. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. And question number two, who is the most likely next defensive coordinator? I think I put some Vegas odds on this last week, and I'll stick with the same Vegas odds. I would still put minus 300 for you Vegas people out there. I put minus 300 on Ryan Nielsen. So in other words, for people that know, minus 300 is actually a pretty heavy favorite. Justin believes Corey Raymond deserves a shot. He's really earned it. So let's discuss that. And Jonathan, I hope that answers your question. Please give me a yes. Oh, yeah, we got to go to Max. What's up with Glenn Schumann? Has he even been interviewed? So the only thing we know about Glenn Schumann right now is a Glenn Guilbeau report. Okay? Glenn Guilbeau was the first reporter to officially report with sources that Ryan Nielsen is heavily involved with this LSU coaching job. And Glenn Guilbeau was the first to report that Glenn Schumann is currently in the runnings. Now, has there been official contact? I don't know. I would also point out that if Ed Orgeron was interested in Glenn Schumann, well, this is a very delicate situation. Why? Well, it's simple. Glenn Schumann could be the next Georgia defensive coordinator if his co-defensive coordinator decides to take the job at Texas. Now, it is rumored that Lanning has already turned down the job at Texas. So if that were to happen, if he would have gone to Texas, more than likely Glenn Schumann would have been the defensive coordinator at Georgia. And my buddy Billy Gomilla brought up a good point on Twitter, that just because we don't hear that interviews are happening doesn't mean that there's not contact, doesn't mean that there's not interviews happening. So we'll see what happens. Now, Max, hopefully that answers your question about Glenn Schumann. It is still your super chat time. So a little bit more on Schumann. He is a quiet guy. He's not as fiery as some other defensive coordinators, not as mellow from what I've been told as Dave Aranda. So he's got some fire, but he's not just like totally chill, bald Aranda guy. Obviously very young, obviously very hungry, looking for that first defensive coordinator job. The only difference is that of the two defensive coordinators, remember, Kirby Smart is also a defensive guy. Glenn Schumann was basically third in command when it comes to defensive calls. Lanning actually called the defense with heavy influence from Schumann, but Schumann was just a co-defensive coordinator in title. So he's never actually been the sole play caller or the primary play caller anywhere he's been. With that said, I heard he's a wizard. He's always open to new things. He is very humble. He's not a me guy. Very, very Irandian. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Pete Golding is a question. All right. So I know some of you want to talk Pete Golding. I do think that there's some interest. There's always interest to go back home. Look, I don't care who you are. I've been to Tuscaloosa thousands of times. I love Tuscaloosa. My girlfriend loves the Tuscaloosa campus. Alabama's campus is gorgeous. Their football stadium, gorgeous. It's just great. But Tuscaloosa is not so much better of a city than Baton Rouge. And Pete Golding is from Hammond, Louisiana. There's nothing better than going back home, people. There's nothing better than going back home. So the prospect of going back home is something I think would interest Pete Golding, with a little bit heavier change and maybe a little bit more freedom from the shadow of Nick Saban. With that said, Pete Golding was phenomenal versus Ohio State. And, Nick Saban wants to keep him around. Let's keep him around. And maybe LSU doesn't lose too many Baton Rouge kids to Alabama's defense. So I know a lot of you want Pete Golding simply because, well, he has out-recruited us quite a few times now, but we'll see what happens. Music believes Nielsen is the GOAT. I can make a case he's the GOAT defensive line coach. Look, he's made Shy Tuttle a lot of money. Shy Tuttle's a ball player. Marcus Davenport's gotten better. Sheldon Rankins, Pelican season, time to unsub. Don't unsub. Let's go to Justin. All right, let's go back to Max. Schumann is going to be the truth. Wanted him from the start, even over Freeman. Ooh. Schumann been in the SEC from the beginning and learned from RTWFU. So, Max, I loved your super chat, and I am going to send you this wonderful Daniel Hunter card, but I would like to counter, not every Saban disciple is made equal. We'll put it that way. Pete Golding to Texas smoke. I would actually believe that before the LSU thing, because if Pete were to leave Saban for Sark, there would have to be a mutual understanding that Sark would not get in Golden's way at all. So, yeah, I do agree with that. I do. I do not have Glenn Schumann over Marcus Freeman, though. I think Marcus is phenomenal. I really do. I think he'll be a Power 5 head coach in 2 years. And on top of that, Marcus Freeman also has my favorite 3-star defensive player in the country, and my friend and yours, Kari G, coming in. Ooh, Shawnery coming in hot with some recruiting. So we are 45 minutes into this thing. Let's actually bring this up. All right, Max, let's see. That is true, but Kirby's a smart guy. Yeah, it's true. That's really true. Okay, so we are 45 minutes in. There's 9,900 of you guys in here. Please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. I know a lot of you are also watching Ravens versus Bills. So we'll see. Let's see. I'm an LSU grad and fan living in Bama. The Gumps take great pleasure. They did not torment you. So let's see. Do you guys want to talk recruiting? Is that what we want to do? Y'all want to move on to recruiting? Because Brian Thomas Jr. might not be the most important commit, okay? Because didn't I read somewhere that Will Campbell's about to announce his decision here in a few days? That would be a pretty big commit right there. State of Louisiana. I'm looking at his profile right now. State of Louisiana. nearly a 5-star. So as elite as you can get of a 4-star offensive lineman right in your backyard. So are there some Will Campbell stands in this thing? I'm a Will Campbell stand. I was watching him the other day. That kid's mean. He's very lean, though. And he's an athlete. Who here wants to talk recruiting? Or if you want to keep talking defensive coordinators, I'm down. Once again, it's your super chat. Exactly. Will Campbell on January 30th. I read that and I was like, wow, really this early in the process? So obviously, he's a class of 2022 kid. We'll see. Obviously, that's going to be a big recruit for LSU. And LSU did get a little lucky that, they didn't have a good year recruiting offensive linemen, but 4 of the 5 starters have announced that they're going to come back, which is obviously pretty key. Kevin asked a great question. How many open scholarships are left? Which is also a tricky question, Kevin. There are 3 if Kimo, Kimo, McAnally, I don't know how to say his last name, the 3-star guard out of Florida, and Savion Jones, the 4-star defensive lineman out of LSU, if they both commit, guess what? There's only 3 slots left. If they both actually sign, there's only 3 slots left. So if Brian Thomas Jr. decides to come, there's another slot. So now there's only 2 slots left. What's interesting, though, Debbie brings up Ray Thornton did indeed hit the transfer portal. Oh, Lewis. Lewis is leaving us already. And Hammond visiting the grandbaby. Nothing better than visiting your grandkids, huh? You have a great night. Thanks for everything you do, Carter. No, thank you, Lewis. Thank you for supporting me and my girlfriend and me and my beggar. I appreciate that. Amacat, Bobby Boucher better than Forrest Gump. Man, I don't know about that. Forrest probably ran a good 4.340. So Mick brings up a good question here. All right. So some of you want to talk about the Harvard transfer, Eric Wilson. So there was a story, and I don't necessarily like to talk about stories about this because it's been reported, but it's also not officially been reported or really talked about by LSU officials. But Jabril Cox, and I feel bad because obviously, I'm not going to comment on this definitively without knowing more facts. But Jabril Cox, apparently there is some kind of academic issue. I don't know. Well, LSU won't be allowed to get after grad transfers this year. So the transfer from Harvard, if that's actually true, it won't actually happen if LSU is prevented from doing so. So, I hate to be the bearer of bad news there. And I also hate to not talk about it any further because I don't want to slander Jabril Cox's name without there being an official report. But that's been reported. It's not been confirmed by another reporter. It's not been officially talked about with LSU football. I don't want to paint LSU in a bad light because it's obviously my favorite team. I normally like to just stick with talking football, but this is obviously another off the field thing that we're having to deal with, and it could potentially hurt you where you actually need a lot of help. 2 or 3 not good as 1. Welcome, brother. Daniel says, it's a good question. Does Rajon Davis recommit to LSU if we hire a good DC? I think so if you would have hired Marcus Freeman. Outside of that, I'm not sure if there's any chance to get him. Ooh, good question. Ooh, Joshua. Let me ask that to the people. I haven't done an ask you guys question. Okay, if you think Mason Smith is going to have a better freshman season, type M for Mason. Or if you think Sage Ryan is going to have a bigger impact, type S for Sage. So M for Mason, S for Sage. Some of you say Sage. I know, Tony, but it's not a both answer. Don't give me that political BS. Ooh, Max, that's an interesting question. 3-4 Sage, 4-3 Mason. Some of you are saying Mason. Mick says Sage. You know what, Des? I agree with that. Shawnery, good question. I don't know what Devonta Lee's future looks like, but I just want to see him play. I just honestly want to see him play somewhere. You know, I had a good friend play at Arkansas. His name was Jamario Bell, and he's from Junction City, Arkansas. And I saw him on the field after the 2019 game, and he switched positions so many times. He eventually started to play his final year at defensive end. But, you switch a guy around so much, he's got to be decent somewhere. Dorsey and Landry 2.0. Amacat, I love you, but goodness. I mean, you're talking about, it doesn't get any better than Glenn Dorsey. He is the GOAT defensive tackle at LSU. Jordan with an interesting comment here. Welcome, Jordan. I don't know if, Jordan, are you new to the channel? If you are, welcome. Sage, simply because of how bad the safety play was last year. Good point. Carvis says Sage as well. Jordan, you got to ask my friend Eric, man, all the way from the Air Force Base in Georgia about Garrett Nussmeier. You won't find a bigger Garrett Nussmeier fan than Eric. How do you feel about Garrett Nussmeier? Does he start over Myles Brennan or Max Johnson? Jordy, that's pretty simple. The answer to that is no. Cliff, good point. I think a lot of you see Sage Ryan as a slot corner. And you know what's funny? When Nick Saban, Nick Saban was, full speed go on Sage Ryan, that's what they viewed him, that jack position, that Xavier McKinney position. So, I could see him playing that position early on. But let me go to the initial question. First thing, Garrett Nussmeier, no. Yes, there's new offensive coordinators, and they could see Garrett different than any of the other guys, but he's not going to. I would be shocked if he played at all next year. I hope. If he's Joe Burrow, play him. But, he's a true freshman. Honestly, ask yourself this question. How many great true freshman quarterbacks have there ever been? And another question you could ask, how many freshman quarterbacks started as true freshmen and actually got better? There's not many of them. Now, we saw Bo Nix take huge regression. And I think the big thing is it's kind of good to sit the bench for a full year. It humbles you. And Garrett Nussmeier is as hardworking and humble, and he kills every interview. But it really does humble you when you actually have to sit the bench. Ooh, Jordan from Chicago, man. One of my best friends is in Chicago. Let's see. 2 or 3 not good as 1. Always trolling me with the Kenny Chesty question. So since you super chatted $10, let me first answer the question. I think Mason Smith will start at some point, and I think he will play more simply because, number one, the defensive tackles that are ahead of him, which one of them were exceptional last year? Okay. Neil Farrell was okay, but not exceptional. Glenn Logan wasn't as good as 2020 as he was in 2019. Jaquelin Roy showed promise, but was he exceptional? Well, he's a true freshman. But none of those 3 guys were exceptional players, okay? Mason Smith will get playing time because who's ahead of him is not exceptional. And the learning curve to being a defensive lineman compared to being a member of the secondary is obviously not as steep. All right. Sage Ryan will eventually see the field, but first thing, he's not going to be in for spring ball. So the freshman that's actually going to get reps in the new defense is actually Derek Davis Jr., who's in for spring ball. So that plays a role, especially at a complicated position like the secondary, especially when you don't know what the defense is going to be. So, with all that said, I think Mason will be the bigger impact true freshman player. Now, to 2 or 3 not good as 1, do you think we'll be a 10-win team? And where does Kenny Chesney rank in your top 10? So, Kenny Chesney is nowhere close in my top 10 country music artists. Not really a big country fan. I was a country DJ for 5 years, along with my sports radio show and my R&B radio show. So 2 or 3 not good is one always likes to troll me with the genre of music that is not my favorite. Now my top 10 country music artists. Okay. Garth Brooks, Miranda Lambert, Maren Morris, I like a lot. Darius Rucker, I like a lot. But I'm here to talk LSU football. I lost viewers when I started doing that. Anyway, 10-win team. Sometimes what we do as far as being a 10-win team, okay? Now, it'd be a simple thing, and look, my viewers went up when I stopped talking country. Anyway, it's a very simple thing. I could ask you right now, oh, dang, Britt, I hope you're okay. I was getting ready to make a serious point, and then Britt's like, yo, there was a shooting. I was like, God, really? So that's the first question you got to ask, is what Dez asked. Okay, Justin as a college defensive tackle. Hey, I respect your opinion on that. I don't think Mason Smith will start day one either. I do. The question was, who's going to play more as a true freshman? I think Mason is the easy answer there. He's in there at spring, and he doesn't have as difficult of a position as far as a learning curve is concerned at the next level. So we'll see. But I do agree, Justin, that at that position and at most positions, I just don't think it's good for a true freshman to play a lot. Number one, if you are a true freshman that's playing a lot, especially at a Power 5 school like LSU, I mean, you have NFL aspirations. So 3 full years of college ball before you actually go to the pros isn't necessarily best for your body. And the same thing is true what I said about Garrett Nussmeier a few minutes ago. Well, you know, it's good to learn from the sideline. It is. Kenny Animal in Lafayette, Eric. Ooh, I hope you're okay, Britt. I really do. Simeon's a best man plays. Britt, I'm glad. Britt's like, look, got to get my LSU football in. Well, Britt, I'm glad you're okay. You're a valuable part of this channel. Tyler coming in with some Coy Moore chatter. We'll get to him in a second. So, 2 or 3 not good as one. To answer your first question, let's be honest. The most important thing is, will the schedule stay the same? If it does, sometimes it's more important who you play than how good your team actually is. So I think we can all agree that LSU is going to be better than what they were this year, or at least we hope to think so. Okay. But what's even more important is how good is everyone else going to be? Well, we know Alabama's going to be a new football team next year. Auburn's going to be a radically new football team next year. Florida lost a lot. Star quarterback, best wide receiver, second best wide receiver, transcendent tight end, lots of good players on defense. And then LSU's cross-division rival is Florida, but the other team in the East that they are slated to play is Kentucky, who's not going to be any good next year. So, what does that mean? LSU gets a favorable schedule next year. Okay? So, if you want another 10-win season, the first question you should ask is, obviously, how good are we? Well, I don't know how good are we right now, but I do know we're going to get better. Number 2, how good is everybody else? Because college football is the one sport that we love in America that actually truly depends on how good your schedule is. You know, we have completely different narratives about certain programs simply because of who they play. That's not the case in the NBA. That's not the case in the MLB. You know, in the NFL, it's a very schedule-based league, but they rotate everything so much. College football, you are what your schedule says you are. It really does come down to your schedule. I've always said this, and it still remains to be true. Your talent comes first, then it's your scheduling, then it's how good your coaching is. Those 3 things If you have really good talent, a mess schedule, and really good coaches, what do you get? Clemson. ACC, not that great. You get Clemson. Okay? LSU last year, talent, raw talent, but not seasoned talent. Coaching, schedule, brutal. Go through those three things. So next year with LSU, talent, huge increase, more experience, probably a better recruiting class this year than the year before. Schedule, favorable schedule. Kentucky, Florida's losing a lot, Alabama's losing a lot, Auburn's losing a lot. Coaching, anything's better than Bo Pelini. Whoever's hired is going to be better than Bo Pelini. Jake Peetz DJ Mangas, fresh blood. So with all three of those things, Ed Orgeron has no excuse but to at least be 9-3 next year, very least, and a bowl win at 10-3 puts him at 10 wins. And then, as Cliff points out, we don't even mention UCLA, who's obviously the first game of the year, if the schedule actually happens what it's supposed to be. Well, what is UCLA? Well, they almost beat USC this year, and they're good at quarterback. And they took Kenny Young from us in 2014. Don't you think I'll ever forget that? I'm still pissed off about the Kenny Young thing. Or was that 2013? I think that was a 2013 class. Or was that the 20? I don't know. But Kenny Young, linebacker from New Orleans, goes to UCLA. Simeon says 11-1. Man. Ooh. Ooh, Dez. Dez doesn't come in with saying, hey, look, Myles Brennan's not winning the job. He's winning the Heisman. Let's go to Max. What do you think the record is for next year? So that's what we're talking about now. Let's move on. We have the players we have right now. So Max or Garrett at QB with our defense and 4-3. What do you think the win and loss is? So obviously there's so many different variables. And Max, I'm going to answer your question very simply here. I think LSU should be able to get to 9 wins. I think 9-4 is a baseline. Okay? That's the baseline season. All right? Once again, it depends with where we are with the pandemic. Do we have the same schedule as we do expect it to be or as it's currently slated? We'll see. I think we can agree. 9 wins, 9-4 should be the minimum, the dead minimum. 8-5, I can live with it. 7, we got to question. We got to question everything. 8, we should sort of question. 9, okay. 10, now we're talking. 11, we're close to the playoff. New Year's 6, 12. Guess what? We're in the playoff. Hit stick production. What's your favorite era of LSU wide receiver? Saban, Les, or O? God, hit stick. That is you did super chat this question. Oh, okay. Well, let me ask that. It's kind of a difficult question, because you got to do math in your head. Okay, so the Saban era was Michael Clayton, Josh Reed, and God, such a random question. Who would the Saban era receivers be? It would be Clayton, Reed, Skylar Green, right? That would be the top 3 of that era. Would it not be? I'm going to try my best, hit stick, because this was just a $5 super chat, and your time is running up here. Part of it is me trying to bail because that is a tough question. Okay, so I'm guessing that era. Can someone help me here? Michael Clayton, Josh Reed, and Skylar Green. Was Dwayne Bowe Was Dwayne Bowe Les Miles or Nick Saban? Dwayne Bowe was a Saban recruit, but didn't Dwayne Bowe actually play under Les? He played under Les. He's Miles. So I want to talk Austin Thomas. Yusha. Well, Yusha did hook me up with all his soccer swag. He thinks 11-1. I'm down with 11-1. Okay, so let me answer Hitstick Super Chat. Okay, so Bo was a freshman in 2004. So that does not qualify to me as he didn't play under Saban. Now he's a Saban recruit, but he didn't play under Saban. We're talking about guys who played under Nick Saban. All right. So under Les Miles, the wide receivers, Dwayne Bowe was Nick Saban. So under Les Miles, it's Dwayne Bowe, early Doucette. Then we get into Russell Shepard, and then Shepard. I like Russ, but he's not one of those. Well, he played in the NFL a long time. Anyway, Les Miles is Ruben Randall, Odell, Jarvis, Terrence Tolliver, who I like a lot. So that would be the Les Miles era. Am I missing? And then the Orgeron era would be obviously Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Les Miles would still DJ Chark. Got to throw DJ Chark under Orgeron, right? Yeah, I would say he's an Orgeron receiver. Chark, Gage. So I think I have to go with Ed Orgeron. I think I got to go with Ed Orgeron's receivers. And obviously that is heavily skewed to the 2019 team, and we don't know what Kayshon Boutte is going to eventually be. But I am going to go with Ed Orgeron. And I'm not just saying that because of 2019, because you still got to factor in Russell Gage and DJ Chark and Trayvon Durrell. So I would go number one. We're going number one. Orgeron, Les, Saban. Ooh. But Devery Henderson was a beast. 93 dash right Berlin. Was Xavier Carter good under Nick Saban, or was he just a recruit? I don't remember. Let me look up Xavier. I would have been better for Xavier Carter to go to a non-LSU school. There's some recruits that are better off not going to LSU. Xavier Carter has 9 career receptions, so he does not deserve to be in this. Pelican says he's a bit drunk. So Justin, I love you. I appreciate you're a defensive tackle. But Xavier Carter, he was a good return guy. We'll give you that. But I do have some background on Xavier Carter. I have some crazy Xavier Carter stories. Actually, I just have one regarding him and parking tickets. But anyway, it's weird. It's weird that he never panned out because, he's like, isn't he the fastest wide receiver ever at LSU? Isn't Xavier Carter the fastest? Or is there somebody? Let's see. Where is King tonight? I want to look at these 40 times. So Xavier Carter, was he faster? Could someone help me here real quick? Was he faster than come on. Was he faster than Trendon Holiday? Could someone look this up for me? So Trendon was faster than Xavier Carter. DJ Bucci, good question. We'll get to that in a moment. We've been talking about that some. Yeah, Trayvon Durrell was really solid. And he had bad quarterback play, too. Hey, tell Scott Woodward my line is open. My girlfriend and I would move right now if Scott wanted to hire me. But then again, they'd also probably say, hey, you got to shut down the channel. I'm interested. So can someone do this? Because I want to focus on this. All right. And Cliff, you might have to do this because you have my number and all my stuff. Let's look up the 100-meter times then. Because Xavier Carter was world-class speed and Trendon was world-class speed. We use that term all the time. But there's only been a few college football players who had real world-class speed, okay? Trendon Holiday did. Do y'all remember Demps from Florida? Demps from Florida had true world-class speed. You are world-class if you can run a sub 11 100-meter dash. That to me is world-class speed. Now, obviously, elite world-class speed is if you can run under 10 in the 100-meter. Okay, look. Dez points out. Okay, Eric, to you, Holiday looked faster than me, and obviously he was a 10 times better player than Xavier Carter. But Dez brings up these 40-yard dash times. Okay, so hit stick with the follow-up here. My all-time LSU wide receiver trio. By the way, I think Trendon was the fastest. Okay, so Holiday, and I'm losing viewers because of this. I thought people would be interested by this. Okay, I am genuinely curious about this. Xavier Carter was ridiculous. Okay, there's fast, and then there's really fast. Okay, then there's world-class speed. And those two are the fastest. But some of you say Eddie Kinnison. Oh, so you want to throw Dwayne Bowe into the Nick Saban? Okay, that's fine. I can deal with that. All right. Follow up. By the way, I think Trendon was a fan. So I actually knew Trendon a little. I had a little Trendon Holiday jersey my freshman year. It was one of my favorite. Plus, I was also short. So yeah, I'm a big Trendon Holiday fan. Don't get it twisted. Xavier Carter has the coolest last name you can have, right? But Trendon, I love Trendon Holiday. I love Trendon. He's probably my top 10 LSU players. My favorite personal LSU players. Okay, so hit stick since you're still sending in the donation. Who's your all-time LSU wide receiver trio? Oh, I hate to do this. That's just so hard to put that on me right the freak now. Okay, like you already asked me. I don't mind doing this. It's fun. So, I really like Terrence Tolliver a lot. I think he got a raw deal at LSU. Let's go. Let's start with Jarvis Landry. I was a big Juice guy. Okay, Cliff sent this to me. I've got to see this. All right. Oh. Eddie Kinnison has a faster 40. 4.28 at the LSU NFL combine. So maybe Eddie Kinnison was the fastest 40, okay? And football speed is different than track speed. And a 40-yard dash, meter dash. Racy McMath ran a 4.3? Really? Yeah, Bo was such a monster. He really was. Yeah, DJ Chark's up there, but I don't think he's... Xavier Carter was like a big-time Olympian, wasn't he? Oh, Benny Brazil. He just had, Benny Brazil was a duster as well. Let's see. Eric is the highest person on this true freshman class. Nobody in this chat loves this true freshman class more than Eric. Okay. Armani Goodwin runs a 4.3. I hope. Bo, Jamar, Reed. That's not a bad group. So just off the top of my head, I'll go Jarvis, Dwayne Bowe, and I'm gonna go Jarvis, Dwayne Bowe, and Ruben Rand. Even Odell is right here. I'll go Jarvis, Dwayne Bowe, Ruben Randall. So Benny Brazil and Gerald Brazel, I get those two confused all the time. Skyler was a monster. Skyler was a monster. OBJ, Chase, and Jerry. Like I said, I mean, the 2019 guys are just on a different planet because statistically, Terrace Marshall was a better wide receiver than Jarvis Landry, statistically. But then again, Jarvis didn't get to play in this offense. So, it's kind of unfair to and that doesn't take anything away from Justin and Jamar. They are the two best LSU wide receivers, by a wide margin if you're just factoring in a single season. It's a wide margin. It's those two, and then there's a chasm statistically. But, that's unfair. It's kind of unfair to do that. That's why, that's why I have guys like come on. That's why I have guys like Terrence Tolliver in such high regard, because Terrence Tolliver had to play with rotating quarterbacks his entire career, and he did not get the benefit of the redshirt 4-game rule as a member of the national championship team. What's that?
Where do you think that is?
Is that DC?
Yes. Brian's going to get sushi right now, and he's got to go through the National Guard there. And these are all he just sent this video to Chris, and he sent it to me.
Look at all that security. God, this is wild. Larry Foster and Abram Booty. Let's see. I, for myself, to sleep at night, think about what so many different LSU receivers could have done in the new offense with a competent quarterback. So this is something else, and this is an off the field thing. All right. So theoretically, we could think whatever about any LSU wide receiver, but you also got to keep this in mind. If you're to fit in an offense like the 2019 LSU offense, you legit have got to humble yourself, because, look, it's the same thing I was talking about earlier with Jake Peetz. Joe Brady was, 29-30 when he was hired by LSU, and he came in not even as the position, and Kevin, we'll get to this really quickly. We'll go back to recruiting. So Joe Brady came in, and he was the assistant wide receivers coach. Mickey Joseph was the actual wide receivers coach. But Joe Brady went up to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Terrace Marshall and said, look, we're going to catch 10,000 passes before we even go play a game. So I can't. So this changed my life when I actually lived in an apartment complex next to actual LSU football players. And I saw the football players that actually put the work in and those that didn't, those that were just going through the motions. That in and of itself, when you're a 4-star or 5-star recruit, or if you've had a few good catches or a few good games, when somebody new comes in who's not even the head of your position group and says, look, we're taking what we're doing to the next level, we don't know if every LSU receiver can mentally do that, especially at the college age. So it's hard. It's really hard. So Kevin wants to go back to recruiting. Kevin, thanks for your super chat. Who do we need to target? Good question, Kevin. So obviously a lot of you want another offensive lineman in this class. And we go back to what we were saying earlier. The best chance LSU was going to get another offensive lineman was the Harvard grad transfer. It's not going to happen now, according to some reports. I've reached out to figure out what happened here with the academics. I don't know, but something happened at LSU to where the offensive lineman from Harvard is more than likely not going to happen, Kevin. So, obviously, offensive lineman is the biggest target for LSU, even though they're returning, theoretically, all their starters coming back from last year. So, you then go by, what other positions do we need? And best player available. So, the best player available for LSU right now is without a doubt Brian Thomas Jr. He's in your state. Walker's an hour away from campus. Makes a lot of sense. But is he your biggest need? No, he's nowhere close to your biggest need. Out of any position LSU's comfortable with, it's wide receiver. Okay? They already have 2 committed for the class of 2022. So I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. would be your number one target. I think LSU is going to reach back out to Rajon Davis, see if something can happen there. So, we'll see what happens. So He-Man brings it up here. Cox didn't do something academically, so we can't get any grad transfers. That's been reported by a reputable reporter. It's not been confirmed by, the Advocate or whoever else. We haven't heard anything from LSU's end on it. I doubt LSU wants any negative news leaking right now. But this leads to another good point. All right. So much of what you do as an LSU football player comes down to how much do you help the program or how much do you hurt the program off the field. Okay. So Jabril Cox came in this year, played a pretty good year. I think we can all agree he was our best linebacker. He was certainly our best coverage linebacker, but he also missed a bunch of tackles. We lost reps to guys that are actually potentially coming back next year. And the one thing you can do to hurt your program more than anything is to get that program in trouble. And no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, no matter what you do, the single most important thing you do as an LSU football player is not anything you do on the field. It's honestly not. Because guess what? Most, and I say most, 99% of the players that ever wear this helmet are replaceable. There's always a backup that's just as good as you waiting at a program like LSU. More than likely, there's always that scenario. So, what you do on the field is what most people remember. But what you do off the field is just as important. Pelican, there is an article about it, but it is behind a paywall, so I don't want to share it. And I don't like reporting on other people's stuff that's behind a paywall, but I can 110% tell you that I did read that, and I'm still trying to learn, okay? And Kyle, it's a good point, and that was a knock on him coming in. He lacks some physicality. So, in the long run, did Jabril Cox actually help us win some games last year? Well, I'll tell you this. He was amazing in that Florida game. And we don't win the Arkansas game probably unless he gets that interception, which got us an extra field goal. So all those things are true. He was a phenomenal player defending the pass. But if there was an academic issue where he actually didn't get his academics in order and it penalizes LSU, that's also a part of your legacy, no matter if you like it or you don't. Now, Cliff brings up another point, and this goes along with Kevin. Hopefully, Kevin, this answers your question. Maybe LSU still wants another wide receiver because of the JoJo Earl thing. All right? I told myself that I would not bring up JoJo Earl on these live streams unless one of you guys brought it up. Cliff brought it up. I'm going to bring it up again. This could end up biting LSU in the butt in a major way. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, you know what? Fine. You lost JoJo Earl. It sucks, but we are fine at wide receiver. And guess what? You are right. LSU's fine at wide receiver. We got a number one playmaker in Kayshon. Hopefully he takes that Jamar sophomore leap. And we got Coy Moore back. Someone mentioned Coy Moore earlier. Was that you, Boutte? I think it was someone else. Someone mentioned Coy Moore. And we got Jarre coming back. And all those guys are fine. But they are not JoJo Earl. They are not. He is a different type of playmaker. And I think JoJo has some serious potential as a scat back running the football. So I watched Alito's high school championship game. JoJo Earl wasn't their most productive player. They had another running back who's a 3-star. But this kid does it all. And Nick Saban stole him at the last second for a reason, because he was severely underrated from the get-go. And I think JoJo Earl is a good sign of what, is a big problem with recruiting. He was very quiet with his recruitment. He didn't generate a lot of buzz. He just kind of committed to LSU. It surprised a lot of people. And he didn't make a big flip until the actual signing day. And he himself is also a quiet guy. But Alito is the most successful high school program in Texas state championship history. So, he was so focused on winning another state title. That kid is freaking incredible. He is freaking incredible. And I'm still mad about it. And you guys know this. What is the one thing I always tell you? Don't overreact to any one recruit unless, he's JoJo Earl. I mean, he's really good. Is he the be-all, end-all? No, we'll be fine. Every program is fine if they lose one guy, but it sucks. Let's go to Mikey's super chat here. Sage finna lock him down. Hey, Antonio, I hope you're right. Gets plus 300 in a game. Well, if anyone gets plus 300 in a game. Okay. That's true. They're different types of players, though. Let's go to Jordan. It's actually surprising LSU hasn't pulled any big-time non-rush linebackers in the last couple of Well, you got Greg Penn. He's going to be a good player. Let's go to Mikey's super chat. Mikey, thank you so much for your support of the channel. If you guys didn't know this, Mikey Joseph is actually Mickey Joseph's burner account. So, Mickey, thank you so much for developing all these great wide receivers. Mickey, I want to shout you out for creating Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Thank you so much, Mickey. I really do appreciate that. Anyway, who is going to play nickel for us, and can we please keep Flott out of man coverage? So guess what, Mikey? All right? The problem with that is, defensive coordinators are always going to find the matchups. And I was having a private discussion with someone involved with LSU football, and, he's not with the team or whatever, but he's a sharp. So when it's giving me a lot of good information. And you notice, even though they gave up over 600 yards, LSU's pass defense got better when Cordell Flott targeted himself out of the game versus Florida. You notice that? I don't know why LSU kept playing him. I just don't. When he was struggling so bad. The worst thing you can do is when a player struggles, you don't take him out for two reasons. Number one, more often than not, the backup player is just as good as the starter. It's simply true. In college football, most of your talent is replaceable, okay? It's not as big of a deal to lose a star player in college football as it is in high school or the NFL. It's just not, okay? Alabama fielded one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen, and they lost their most dynamic weapon halfway through the season. It's simply true. So when someone is sucking, when someone is struggling, and I love Cordell Flott, and you guys know that I hate criticizing players, but Cordell Flott had a long streak of getting burned. Now, some of that is secondary coaching. Because if you're a nickel and you have a cornerbacks coach and a safeties coach and you don't practice together because you're two separate position groups, communication becomes a problem. And then you have a new defensive coordinator with Bo Pelini, and you got to cover more space when there's 4 defensive line. All those things are true. But when they're struggling, take them out. Number one, it's good for the player because he gets to sit back and watch the game from the sidelines. And that makes him better in the long term because they're seeing things differently. They're like, oh, okay, now that I'm on the sidelines, I can see when this player does this, I know to do this next time. It humbles the player, makes the player work even harder to get back on the field. So it's not only a good thing for the player to improve, but it's also good for the team because his replacement is also a 4-star recruit for a reason. Okay? Cordell Flott can be a really good corner. Pro Football Focus had him rated differently as an outside corner compared to a nickel corner. Okay? He was better on the outside. He's not afraid to get physical. I like that about him. He plays his tail off. But Ed Orgeron made this mistake. And this commentary has more to do with coaching. When a player is playing suboptimal football, bench him. Bench him. Okay? Now, this is the problem with Ed Orgeron. He's loyal to a fault, and he was worried about his numbers because if a player gets benched, he was worried that they were going to transfer, locker room issues, whatever. So I got that aspect of it too because, you weren't going to be able to play games unless you have a certain amount of scholarship guys and whatever. But coaches do this. Nick Saban's really good at this. If somebody's struggling, he's going to take your butt out. Ooh, Amacat. That's a good reference. Danny McCray 2.0. Danny McCray got a bad rap because he did get burned quite a bit, but he stuck his tail in there. And I'll tell you this, Danny McCray was better than Cordell Flott last year. And for you Dallas Cowboys fans, Danny McCray was actually a decent pro. No one would have expected Danny McCray having like a better NFL career than some other really good members of the secondary. Like if you would have told me, you see, for instance, I'm loyal to a fault to Brandon Taylor. Brandon Taylor to me is so underrated because, he was in the secondary and there's Tyron and Eric Reed and Daryl Simon and Mo Claiborne. Brandon Taylor was the leading tackler of that defense. And I thought Brandon Taylor was like the next Eric Weddle. I thought he was going to play in the NFL for a long time. He was smart. He said all the right things. He was one of the best interviews. And it just didn't work out. He had injuries and whatnot. Dude, I loved Brandon Taylor. Freaking loved him. So Cordell Flott, that's the thing. I was just a side anecdote. Cordell Flott, new defense, no Dave Aranda. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt a lot of people. But do you start Cordell Flott in the slot again? I don't know. You know what, Jordan? They really did. They really targeted him. And they not only targeted him because he was a slot corner, they would also target him because he and Derek Stingley have some of the worst communication amongst corners I've ever seen. Because what they would do is they would run those crossers and they would bump into each other, and then two guys would go with one receiver and then another guy would wide open. Arkansas did it to him. Alabama did it to him. Auburn did it to him. And Bo Pelini, Corey Raymond, and Bill Bush still couldn't adjust to it. They did it every single game to the point where Derek Stingley Jr.'s dad was asked about it. And I saw this interview, and I love Stingley's dad. He's a very interesting guy. He was like, I don't know. He was like, I don't know why it keeps happening. Blows my mind. Okay, now, let me tell you this. If you play a lot of man coverage, it's obviously very difficult to stop when you're running crossers, and you guys know what I'm talking about, right? If you don't, I have film studies. Hit me up if you want to see them. But, Jordan, you're pointing this out as well. It happened so many times, and it never got fixed. So that's the thing. And that goes back to Ryan Nielsen, all right? He is a defensive line coach. Do you think his expertise is preventing those things from happening? No. His expertise is doing just that. Well, it's other guys who've actually coached a back seven before. So, that's the thing. Can the guy you're bringing in be the person that can fix things like that? So we'll see what happens. Well, hit stick, I don't think saying Flott was thrown into the wolves is fair because, he had a year of experience. Leading up into the season, I had people in the building tell me Cordell is ready. Oh, y'all ready? This is what we're having tonight. We're about to wrap this up in a second. Y'all see that slamming salmon? Look at that salmon. Look at that. Y'all wish you had that. Woo.
I cut my finger.
Oh, you cut your finger? I'm sorry, guys. You're seeing my Lazio. Oh.
That's not look good?
Oh, it's good, baby. Oh. Slamming salmon.
Beer with your...
I'll do beer. No, we'll do punch. Do punch.
Punch or beer?
Punch. Guys, should I go punch or beer?
I might have to throw it back in there and warm up. That's the Arby's fries.
Can you bring me one more of those?
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I didn't know you could do this. So Debbie said, no. Oh, Debbie wants to see Booger again.
What?
We'll bring her back down. We're about to get ready to eat.
Booger?
Debbie wants to see Booger again. Debbie, going to take a $10 super chat to see Booger. It's going to take one more $10 super chat to see Booger. So,
We'll put him in the oven just to warm him up.
let's warm up. So, look. Did y'all know that you could buy the
Arby's
fries now? This is next level right here. What are y'all eating tonight? Look. I did not know you could buy the Arby's fry like that. I didn't know. That is a game changer. One thing about Arby's. If I was stranded on an island and I didn't have anything to eat for 30 days, and someone brought to me a bag of Arby's.
Which is the bigger piece?
Oh, that one. See, there's some more festation thickness.
I can't eat all this one, though, so I'm going to cut like more than half of it off.
More than half. Okay. But if I'm the last person on an island and you bring me some food and it's Arby's, but you didn't bring the Arby's sauce, just throw it away. I hate it when people go to Arby's and they don't get the Arby's sauce. What's the point of existing? What is the point of existing?
They should bottle Arby's sauce.
Why don't they bottle the Arby's sauce? Amacat sold my iPad. Now I got to use my phone? Amacat, do you not have a computer?
Emma.
See, Amacat's old school, though. Garbage. Who eats Arby's? Oh, that's good. I don't eat Arby's. I really don't. You know what? I don't mind a roast beef and cheddar every day.
Oh, God.
Warren Sapp said the Rock's catchphrases come from Ed Orgeron. Really? Okay, 2 or 3 not good as well. My girlfriend was bringing this up to me not until I. What is your fascination with Kenny Chesney? What is this?
God.
Why? There are, and I hate to interrupt, but when you pay, I always had this thing. When you pay and you talk about something,
It's so bad.
if it's $10 or more, I'll stop and talk about it, okay? Why?
Who asked about
He wants me to sing a Kenny Chesney song. My goodness gracious. If I'm dead serious. If I went to somebody in a mall and gave them a guitar and told them to sing country music, it would be better than Kenny Chesney. Okay? I can't even think of a Kenny Chesney song. Wait, what is it? No, I can't even think of one. I mean, that is horrible. Like, if you're going to interrupt my stuff with country music, at least give me someone that is good. Okay, we'll get the booger thing. But you see, Eric, it took 2 or 3 not good as one hijacking my live stream talking about country. But Kenny Chesney is a no-go for me. When my radio station forced me to play Kenny. And here's the thing. He's a good ambassador for SEC football. He really is. He's a big SEC football fan. And when I interviewed Nick Saban told me Kenny's one of his best friends. So he's like in with all the SEC teams. He's like the Drake of college football. Oh yeah, Boys of Fall. Okay. He-Man, I can rock with Boys of Fall because it gets people excited about football season. All right, I know that song means a lot. But other than that, trash. Straight trash. Bills and Ravens tied at 3 at the half. I have money on the Bills at 2.5. So, Lawrence, I don't have the game on, but I needed a better report from you, Lawrence, and that is not good. Well, we're working on getting Booger here. So my buddy, what happened, Debbie? Are y'all nervous about the Saints game? Are some of y'all Buccaneers fans? So it's funny. There's a fan. I'm into sports cards, obviously. Shout out once again, Max. Max, you're going to need to send me an email so I could send you this. So there's rumors out there that some of you guys are Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. We can't be having that. Now, if you're a Devin White fan, I can roll with that. Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals? I took the Bills minus 2.5. Your wife is a Bucs fan, Eric? What's up with that? My girlfriend's a Cowboys fan, so. Okay. Cowboys.
Y'all don't know how much trouble he's in tonight, do you?
I'm in a lot of trouble tonight. I gotta understand. We got some slamming salmon. I'm really worried about our DC.
And I cut my finger, by the way.
How'd you cut your finger?
Don't worry about it. The foil.
On the how do you cut the finger on the foil? Baby, they want to see Booger one more time.
Okay, I'll go get her.
You're gonna go get her. Everyone say hi. Everyone thank Haley because she's one going. They want to go see.
You say please?
I said please. Someone pay $10 for it. Yeah, 2 or 3 not good as one. That was so awkward. Riley Cooper, the Florida Gator. I mean, that was so crazy. I still can't believe that video. And think about it. That was kind of like pre-Twitter. It was Twitter, but that was like everything was recorded. That's like one of the biggest regrets of my career is not recording some of the stuff that I did when I was working for Sirius. And, I was doing a lot of reflection over the past couple of weeks. I did politics for a week at Sirius, and it is insane, the security there. So it was just mind blowing. But I wish I recorded more stuff from then simply to document how cool it was cool, how cool it was to be in DC and working for one of the biggest radio stations on the planet. Welcome to the channel, Matt. I don't think I've introduced myself to you, Matt. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome Matt to the channel. Everybody, well, Jonah, I think you've been with me for a while. I'm a Max guy too, Jonah, but not by much. It's close. Yeah, it happened at a Kenny Chesney concert. So 2 or 3 not good as one. I don't think I would be proud of that if I'm a Kenny Chesney fan. But it is what it is. Yeah, I think Justin Tucker, is the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL? What's the deal with Josh Allen? I thought Josh Allen was a baller. Everybody, welcome Matt. Matt, I hope you subscribe, my friend. Say hi to Debbie. Debbie is the president of the Bug fan club.
Delaney's on my list again.
2 or 3 is Kenny Chesney. So look, if you are Kenny Chesney, 2 or 3 not good as one. Let's get together, do a benefit concert. I'll open for you. Do 20 minutes of raunchy stand-up.
Like someone like Dirks Bentley. Screw Kenny Chesney.
What about Dirks Bentley?
He's a turtle. I've met him. He's a jackass.
Okay.
Unknown fact.
I hope that didn't get me demonetized because I think Jack Blank is on the list.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. She's fired. My girlfriend's worked in the music industry, so she knows what she's talking about, especially since she worked in country music. Okay, I did too, but not quite.
I went to school in Nashville.
She went to school in Nashville. She doesn't like it, dude. Some of these people, country music doesn't have the same beef aspect as like hip hop and other genres of music. So like country has like a very weird vibe where everyone thinks everyone.
Oh, I guess I better go get her.
Yeah, go get Booger so we can hurry up and eat our salmon. So guys, we have 10 minutes left on the chat.
I'm going to get her.
And she's going to go get Booger. If you have any more super chats or Venmos, as we always say, I'm happy to go longer for super chats and Venmos. But here's the thing. Honestly, a lot of these country artists don't like each other. It's just the brand set. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, country's friendly and everyone gets along. No, they don't. They're competitive over the same writers and producers as everyone. And in hip hop, they actually like each other more than what a lot of hip hop artists put out there. But beefs are what make a lot of hip hop artists. What channel is that? Kevin, where do you work, man? Tell us real quickly. I'm curious.
We're not watching Country Music Network.
Is South Carolina any good? Obviously not. Ooh, that alley. I just turned it in time. Even though it was South Carolina, that alley was nasty.
Go Gamecocks.
So it's funny. Like I like looking at the sponsors that LSU has. So they have the Waiter app. Also Taco Bell. But y'all see the official sports restaurant of LSU Athletics is Walk. I've not had walk-ons in a long time. I like Brandon, the owner, a few times. But Brandon had a very interesting anecdote about Drew Brees to Jacques Doucet this week about Drew Brees and the Rams game from a few years ago where, so there was a missed pass interference call, but Drew Brees thinks about the missed throw to Michael Thomas on first down. And for those that don't remember the drive, there was a missed pass interference call in the NFC Championship game. But on first down, if Drew Brees had just made a decent throw to Michael Thomas on the slant route, he probably scores a touchdown. I mean, Michael Thomas was wide the freak open. I know, Debbie, we're so close to 3,000. I thought we were going to hit 3,000 beforehand. But Max, once again, is our winner of our Daniil Hunter card. He has not emailed me yet, though. So Max is getting this rookie Prism Daniil Hunter card, which is obviously pretty legendary. This is his base rookie card. Oh. You know what, Blake? I agree with Myles. I agree with you as well. But did y'all see that viral Facebook post about the dude giving Mac Jones a lot of credit? You know, it's crazy. If I was Mac Jones and I saw Tua and Jalen Hurts ahead of me, probably would have transferred myself, but he stuck it out. More often than not, it's, not the worst thing to just stick it out. But sometimes you just got to go. Okay? Perfect example is our boy Joey B. Nuss. Eric, I'm telling you, we gotta get Eric an autograph from Garrett Nussmeier. We do. Eric is hyping up Garrett Nussmeier more than anyone else on this channel. And like I said, I hope you're right. I really do. I really do. And I like Garrett Nussmeier as well. But we got to get, we got to get Doug on the live stream. The dad, play caller. Yeah, Joe, I think it's too early to tell, though. What if TJ is inspired by Mac Jones and says, look, I'm going to sit it out. I still got 5 years of eligibility left. And he does. If he plays 4 or less games, he could technically be here for 5 more seasons. Trask stuck it out. Think about Kyle Trask sticking it out. He wasn't even the starter for his high school team. So, it's hard. It's hard to get on the field. You know what, Amacat? That's a good point. And I was very, very, very critical of Lowell Narcisse. I always thought Lowell Narcisse was a Division I quarterback. I thought Lowell Narcisse was really, really going to be a good SEC quarterback. Turns out he had a great year at UTSA before his injury. And I was like, why? Joe Burrow, this is his first year. And here's the funny thing. If Lowell Narcisse would have stayed, now Myles Brennan was the clear backup to Joe Burrow. But, Joe Burrow in his first year went 4 games without throwing a touchdown pass. So it's interesting. Yeah, I thought, and you know what? He turned out to be great. Turned out to be a really good quarterback. Now, UTSA is a different school than LSU, but still, that kid had some real freaking talent. And Alan brings up the good point, the injury problems, and that's the thing. Some guys just don't hold up. Some guys are Justin Rogers out of Shreveport. That would have been a disaster at LSU. His body just couldn't hold up at TCU, and he had injuries, at Parkway beforehand. Ooh, Jonah, that's a good question. I've done a lot, and Jonah, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I know you came into the live chat, but I've answered a lot of these all-time questions tonight, and I want to save that one for my favorite. Yeah, that's the hardest one. Your favorite LSU player of all time, because a lot of you know this. I don't like to do a simple answer, okay? Because the answer should be more complicated than Joe Burrow, okay? When you think of Joe Burrow, it's a different. That's different. He's different. He's Xavier. He's a metaphysical type of player. That's why, whenever I get asked greatest of all time, who's the greatest LSU player of all time? The 2019 team played in a completely different style of team than any other team LSU's ever played. So it's different. It's kind of hard. Okay, Booger's not happy, guys, but y'all wanted her. Come on.
I'll hold her. She likes me better.
Everyone's had a bug. But I was a big Jarvis guy. Jarvis did all the little things right. Everyone's had a bug.
She's very upset. I got woken up.
So can I? I'm going to share something with you. I was going to wait and share it for another episode, but I got asked a
Is Miss Debbie in here?
Yeah, Debbie's right here. Debbie, how many dogs do you have?
Is Eric in here tonight?
Oh, Jonah, that's cool. So you were at the LSU Syracuse game. That's cool. His performance was magical. Yeah, you know what, Jonah? I forget about that game that LSU played.
Eric.
That LSU played in
Love
the Carrier
Eric and
Dome.
Miss Debbie, they love our beggars.
Yeah, Jordan. Tyron is a different type of guy. You know, Joe Burrow will always be LSU's best player ever. He had the best season.
Hey.
But the most unique season in LSU history is Tyrann Mathieu, because we have yet, Joe Burrow had the greatest statistical college season we've ever seen. But a lot of quarterbacks have had great statistical college seasons. We have yet to see someone have a Tyrann Mathieu type of season. And in fact, think about it. Name a defensive back that had a Tyrann Mathieu type of season. It is simple. Bug, I'm buying your food. Everyone say not to bug her. She's gonna get some food while we eat dinner. So we're gonna end this at the 2-hour mark, but I do want to include this. Tyrann Mathieu, we've yet to see anything like it. We've yet to see it. There's not been one defensive back in college football that had that type of season. So that's a good pick. That's a good pick. It's a really good pick.
Look at that fatty.
Dalton Hilliard, what a great player. Wait, Debbie has what is that right there, baby? 7 Vizslas? What's a Vizsla? Shih Tzus? I think she meant to say Shih Tzus.
No.
Or what is that? Vizslas? Debbie, what kind of dog is a Vizsla? Does anyone know what a Vizsla is?
Look at this butt.
Blake, that's a good one. Devin White, a great Tiger through and through. Saved the team after that Troy loss. It was him and Duke Riley that held everyone accountable after that loss and kept the locker room together. So that's a good pick, Blake. I like Devin a lot. DW40. I love that, man. That's a good pick. All right, guys. Well, if there's not any more super chats, it's a Hungarian bird dog point. That's interesting.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about? You
I
see
do.
one?
I do.
What does a Vizsla look like? It's like a bulldog, or is it?
No, I'll show you.
Okay. That number 5 guy we don't mention anymore?
They are pretty.
Oh yeah, Des. Yeah, that's one of those things. And to make it worse, Des, is that he's a Baton Rouge kid. So yeah, I was like, wait, Des is talking about Skylar Green,
and it's pronounced
Vizsla.
Yeah, they do kind of look like labs, Eric. You're right.
Vizsla. I'm kind of new to dogs. I actually didn't wear my dog shirt. I had my dog shirt on earlier, but I wanted the purple and the blue tonight because Yusha, shout out to Yusha, gave me a bunch of cool stuff. I know, Britt, and I blame you for that. You were supposed to get the extended family. Cecil Collins, I like that. Joseph Adai or Joseph Audi. Oh, I see. Blake's looking for that new ride. I see you. Joseph Adai was a monster. Japanese Akita. LSU looks so great against Arkansas. They're laying an egg at South Carolina. Kane. So here's the thing. You guys know, as big of a part of this channel as anyone, I had to DM Kane because I was worried because Kane's never missed a live stream. Never missed one. So I had to DM Kane. And Romeo as well. I DM'd both of them during the live stream. That's how much I love those guys. So Kane, good to finally have you in here, dude. Ali Broussard, Alley Cat. I got some good Alley Cat stories. Oh, it's like a Dalmatian without the spots. Eric said hook up. All right, guys, it's Slam Salmon night. Y'all know when that Slam Salmon hits, whoo. And y'all know, if you've been following the community post, We did some tuna steaks this week. Baby, did we not do some tuna steaks? Garlic, Parmesan, and kicking chicken seasoning. Woo! My buddy sent me a photo of some char-grilled oysters. I've not had oysters. Me and my baby girl going to Phil's Oyster House this week.
Shit.
She said, oh, I can't say that word. All right, guys. We did not get to 3,000 subscribers, so this wasn't a fail. This was actually a fun live chat. Guys, thank you so much. Once again, stay safe. Keep your family safe. Take the proper precautions, okay? And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Please cheer on the Buffalo Bills because I do need to win this thing. And we'll see you soon, okay? One more Kenny Chesney question right here at the end. No! It's power. Hour. LSU. Boom. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Night, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday. Oh, yeah. And one more thing. If you're still here. We will not be doing a live chat next Saturday because next Saturday is my birthday and my girlfriend has a huge thing planned. So our